Hudson County View live at Uncut. I'm your host. I tell it how it is, you tell it how it might be. Look good, whether it's a gray suit or a white tee, John Our Highness. So, of course, as we do every week, we're going to talk the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. So, first of all, let's, of course, we're going to discuss something that broke during the day yesterday, and we posted this morning, talking about Hudson Catholic High School, a history assignment that some say went completely sideways. In this assignment, students were asked to compare quote-unquote famous lynchings to famous fatal incidents involving police officers having to kill somebody. So this is obviously something you don't see every day. We could talk about that assignment and the response from the Archdiocese of Newark, as well as the response from the Jersey City Police Officers Benevolent Association president. So all that and more as we also delve into other topics. A breaking news story, actually, just about an hour and change ago, about an hour and a half, I guess I would say. Union Dry Dock looks like it will finally be acquired by the city of Hoboken at a price tag of $18.5 million. It's been a long road. It's been many years coming, but we heard from Mayor Bala, Governor Murphy, Senator Stack, and many others saying that this thing will go before the council finally next month. So obviously that is something that we weren't expecting, and that's something that's a little bit exciting. So we're going to chat about that as well. We're also going to talk about the American Rescue Plan and as that funding relates to the Jersey City Board of Education. And certainly we have a lot more in the pipeline, but of course I'm joined by a guest today, as I am most weeks, almost every week now, and that's Bayonne Business Administrator Melissa Mathews. So we're going to chat with her and a whole lot more right after we hear a few words from our sponsors.
Cutting edge surgical care is right here in Secaucus.
Robotic surgery is safer.
Shorter hospital stays.
Smaller abdominal incisions, the size of an M&M. Here at Hudson Regional, we provide world-class robotic surgical care.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John Our Highness, and as I mentioned just a few moments ago today, I'm joined with Bayonne Business Administrator Melissa Mathews. Melissa, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me here.
You're very welcome. So first, let's just go step by step here. Obviously, we have a lot to talk about, and you have a compelling story to tell, but let's take people back to March 2020. Obviously, this wasn't a very happy time for a lot of people. This is when we first started to hear about the coronavirus and wondered how this would affect our lives, our families, our livelihoods, so on and so forth. But as luck would have it, around that time, you heard what appeared to be good fortune, and you were hired as the Bayonne Business Administrator. So take us back to that time and why this is something you wanted to do for the city that you know very well.
At that time, I was working in planning and zoning. I had been part-time and I was going to be training to be the zoning officer at that time. They had a position open up for a business administrator, and I had a skill set that I thought would be really, good for the job. I have tech background. I worked at Apple and Adobe. I have finance background. I went to Columbia. I have a degree from Columbia in political science. So I really felt like I could do a lot for my community. I also had been following coronavirus. Everybody was calling me crazy because I was really worried about it. We had a girl coming from China to help us and live with us with our kids, and I was really concerned about it. So I was watching the story play out, and that's really kind of how I started to get involved. I wanted to get technology there. I wanted to get the computers there, to get everybody remote, to get everybody's phones forwarded just in case this hit. And luckily the administration was receptive, and that progressed, and I ended up as the business administrator.
All right, very good. So I think pretty much everyone who is watching or will watch knows that things didn't work out the way you would have hoped. About 13 months later, you ended up filing this suit that's claiming gender discrimination, essentially calling City Hall a boys' club, and that they just didn't take you seriously and ever let you perform your duties as the BA. So certainly we could parse through every paragraph there. It was a pretty interesting filing, if I say so myself. But I guess really, what was the catalyst that made you file, the straw that broke the camel's back, or was it really just everything in totality? Just take us down to the point where you're like, enough is enough.
It took a while to get there. It is a cultural problem that they have there. It is, I think it was the repeated complaints, verbal complaints that went unheard, the written complaints that went unheard. I didn't do this lightly. I didn't do it because I was doing this frivolously. I had repeatedly complained, and to the mayor and as well as to the law director. I was told the first time, and I think this was the most shocking thing for me of all of this, is that they had known of constant complaints from me. They had witnessed instances being screamed at, being belittled, being disparaged. These things happen. They knew they were happening. And when I went and I complained to Jay Coffey, who also happens to be a mayor, there's like 2 mayors there now. When I made that complaint, I was told to go get a beer with the harasser. And I think for me, that was the biggest thing, is like, I understand that they're all friends and people are friends, but harassment can't continue just because you can't sweep it under a rug. You can't tell the victim to go have a beer. Like, that's just unacceptable. You need to take these cases seriously. And it was almost on deaf ears constantly and continuously. And I was just literally trying to do my job and add professionalism to the environment. And I never thought that saying, you can't treat me like this, this is unacceptable behavior, I don't have to tolerate this in a workplace, that would lead to where we are today. And it's quite a shame, I think.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, extraordinarily professional, 1 being no professionalism whatsoever, not just, in your specific instances where you were involved, but what would you say the professional conduct is like at City Hall?
It varies. It depends on the person, the situation. Right now, I really couldn't tell you. They basically have dismantled the role of BA. They've stripped me of all my duties even before I filed the complaint. And essentially, I had just seen a video of the executive director from the Hudson County Democratic Organization, Susan Rageb, I believe is how you pronounce it. Rageb. And she basically describes this process where anybody that pushes back against the machine ends up in Siberia. It is obviously a clear tactic that they use, and I am in Siberia, and this kind of dysfunction, just the people that are going to suffer are going to be the employees, it's going to be the residents of an ineffective administration, because they have essentially changed the job and the role of BA, and it's just kind of all over the place. So the level of professionalism, I think it depends on who you're dealing with and what you're dealing with, and who you are. You probably get more professionalism if you're somebody, different than me right now.
All right. Well, certainly we're going to touch a little more on that as well, but just tell me, what do you hope to accomplish from this? Obviously you're still employed, so where would you like to see this go in an ideal set of circumstances?
I took this job to help the residents. I took this job to help my fellow employees. We have a very strong group of women at City Hall, and this has sort of gone beyond me at this point. I never did this for any specific end, but I have a strong sense of what I believe is right, and this kind of behavior can't continue. So I want to see the right training, the right behavior towards all women at City Hall. People need to be, understand that they can stand up for themselves, and you're not going to be retaliated against. This has to change, and it doesn't have to just change in Bayonne. This obviously is a larger problem, and this is throughout, Hudson County, throughout New Jersey, throughout the country. These kind of things cannot happen. So I'm just standing up to let people know they can too.
Thank you, Melissa. We're not done, but we do have to take a short break from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to be prepared for your emergency.
We promise to provide world-class robotic surgical care.
We promise to treat you like family.
To provide accurate diagnostic care.
To provide the most innovative orthopedic care at your doorsteps.
We promise to treat your baby like our own.
To never stop investing in the best of spinal care.
To be with you every step of the way.
Here at Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to take care of our community.
A brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's tough enough to have best-in-class available payload and smart enough to know that a cab can also be an office. A truck equipped with best-in-class available towing that asks, why can't all that power more than just this truck? No, your brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's the all-new F-150. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants. All major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut. And I'm still joined with Bayonne Business Administrator Melissa Mathews. So, Melissa, I think, people were obviously surprised to hear some of these allegations, read some of the things that you put through your attorney. And though I think one thing that some people missed, in my humble opinion, is that you made some allegations, of course they were broad, about criminal conduct, flat out illegality occurring at City Hall that was then forwarded to the authorities. So what could you tell us about that today?
I guess what I could say is that I'm not an attorney, so I can't make the call as to whether things are completely illegal, but my call could be on whether they are unethical. And I would definitely say that I have seen things that I believe are not ethical. Again, you'd have to have somebody with a law degree to tell you the legality of it, but I do have concerns about some of the behavior going on.
And I guess just on that end, you're not talking about one or two isolated instances, you're talking about continued and repeated conduct. Would that be fair to say?
There's enough instances that I would believe that I have concerns over what's happening in a lot of areas. Mm-hmm.
All right, very good. Now, with that, let's talk a little bit about two issues that I know have come up quite a bit in the past 2 months, really, since the council meetings went back in person. Of course, the first one back, we were there for hours on end talking about eminent domain in the Bayonne Medical Center. Now, where do you think this is going, and what do you think is the best outcome for Bayonne?
I don't really know where it's going. I have some concerns about the whole situation, but really, first the local finance board needs to make their decision, and then when it comes to council, they'll make their decision. I mean, they're really the ones that are going to decide whether to push this forward or not. We need a hospital. That is just what we need. We need a hospital. We don't, as a city, get to decide who runs that hospital, who operates that hospital. That would have to go out to bid and everything like that. So the last meeting that was 6 hours long or 5 hours long, a lot of what was being said was confusing to people, because really the issue here is whether or not we as a city need to strap taxpayers with $100 million for the land. And I don't know, that's not a call that I'm going to make, but it seems like we have a viable option that's willing to make concessions to make it work for the city that has a license to run it. So I'm not quite sure where it'll end up, but that's going to be for council to decide.
Sure. All right, and then the other thing that I know people have been talking about is, of course, the Suez water deal. Yes. Certainly this is not a new thing. I mean, Suez has been pretty much NJ's #1 water services provider for many decades, probably closer to a century at this point. And, Bayonne's no exception. This deal has been in the works for a very long time, but people are really starting to get frustrated because they're seeing rate increases in the midst of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So what color or what details can you give us about that? And, if at all there's any sort of remedy or any other sort of, color you could provide.
As far as the Suez deal goes, Sharon Nadrowski discussed it last night at the council meeting. We have another 30 years basically on the deal, and we are pretty much locked in. Unless we have about $350 million to buy us out of that deal, we're with Suez. I think that, and the rates keep going up, I think that one of the things that could be handled better is the way that we interact with the community and explain what's being done and negotiate the whole conversation as far as, we're not getting out of that deal anytime soon, and the water bills are going to be high. But we need to do a better job of explaining to residents what's happening, where we're at, and why we're there. Right now, I know that they got an attorney. They're going to dig through the contract and try and see, what Suez is responsible for and what the city is responsible for. I know there's been a lot of confusion on that point, and I don't think there's really a clear line as to who does what and where. And I think that we just need to do, as a city, a better job of, 1, informing the residents, and 2, trying to negotiate and see where we can get some gains and have things fixed and take care of things a little bit better. Yeah.
All right, very good. So Now, as you're well aware, and I'm sure most people are, this is an election year. Mayor Jimmy Davis, the city council are all going to bid for their seats in May of 22. So how do you think that's impacting City Hall, if at all?
There's been a lot of articles. I think that there's a little bit of a chaos around that previously. It seems to have mellowed out a little bit. But I mean, everyone's jockeying for power, I think, is what's going to happen. But right now, not too much. It seems fairly quiet. But I mean, we'll see how it goes. Until somebody is going to run against the mayor, I don't know what's, until there's somebody announces, we'll have to see how it plays out then. But right now, it seems like everybody's a fairly cohesive team. Okay. Well, two people that I think are clearly not a cohesive team at this point is the outgoing Assemblyman Nick Stravolati, the Majority Whip, and Mayor Davis. So, listen, I understand certainly you have no role in selecting who's on the line, who's off, anything like that. But, people usually associate the Assemblyman with the Council President. A lot of people say the Council President's going to run, and a lot of people say that, this is all a political game. I mean, what do you think about this kind of conversation?
Nicholas Stravolati did a lot for our town. I think he did a lot of really great stuff. He continues to do, and he will until the end of his term. He's done a lot for us. I have not met the new assembly candidate, so I can't really comment on him. Seems like a nice guy. As far as anybody else running, I honestly haven't heard anything about anybody running as far as that goes. I really haven't.
All right. And would you assert quite clearly, and I mean, I feel like you already have, but just bottom line, this lawsuit has nothing to do with politics or anything other than, I guess, basically what you had to deal with at City Hall?
Absolutely. I have no political ambition at all in any of this. This is really just about doing what's right for the employees and for the residents. I have a very, very strong moral compass, and I just am trying to do what I think is right. I took this job for them, and I'm going to continue to do this job and do what I think is the right thing in this. It has nothing to do with politics.
Thank you very much, Melissa. We appreciate having you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. We are not done yet, but we are going to take another commercial break. Be right back.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
Hudson County View live at Uncut, Chad Our Highness. So I believe the first thing I mentioned at the top of the program was Hudson Catholic. So let's talk about what exactly happened in this history class and why this is drawing some attention across the tri-state. We actually saw a story, I believe that was CBS picked this up as well. So, certainly this is something people are paying attention to. So what am I talking about? Well, Hudson Catholic High School in Jersey City is being scrutinized after history class students were asked to, quote, find a famous case of lynching and compare it to a famous case where an African-American was slain by a police officer. So obviously that's certainly like no assignment I ever received when I was in high school. But yeah, the times have changed. But that's I think that's pretty surprising to a lot of people, and I'm not surprised by a lot of things these days. So let's get into it a little deeper here. The assignment began circulating on social media yesterday, the same date it was due, and it notes that the assignment should be done in a PowerPoint format, as well as that students should provide background on specific cases and describe what happened afterwards. The teacher, who has not been identified, also suggested using Google to find a famous case of lynching. So I talked to two people, as I mentioned again at the top of the program. We heard from the president of the Jersey City Police Officers Benevolent Association, that's Joe Cosolini, and he was actually pretty gracious in addressing what happened, had a lot of respect for what Hudson Catholic has done over the years, and said they should not be held, basically, they shouldn't be tarred and feathered, I guess you could say, for one assignment. So what his exact words were, the president of Hudson Catholic contacted me and advised that he had voiced his concerns about this assignment with the teacher. It is unfortunate that Hudson Catholic, a well-respected learning institution, is now being cast in a negative light over one ill-conceived assignment. This type of rhetoric only serves to divide rather than produce well-rounded, unbiased thinkers. So when I reached out to Hudson Catholic, I got deferred to the Archdiocese of Newark, and I spoke with Maria Margiata, and she said that the screenshot that has been circulating on social media did not accurately portray the intent of the instructor, and students have since received a new assignment. So she gave me a long statement, but I guess I could sum it up with this. The assignment intended to encourage a thoughtful dialogue of post-Civil War and modern-day racism and violence against African Americans, and followed comprehensive classroom presentations and discussions on promoting better communication and information to assure fair and equal treatment of all. The instructor and school administration regret any concern or misunderstanding the issue may have caused. The school is reviewing the matter, and a new final project has been assigned to students. So, we'll see where this goes, but I mean, there's probably not going to be really much more follow-up on this. I mean, certainly we're towards the end of the school year, but some schools are just getting out now. Others are in their final days. So I don't think there's a whole lot more to be said here. But I think it is worth mentioning, though, that last year, Cardinal Joseph Tobin, the Archbishop of Newark, released a message to Hudson Catholic right after the murder of George Floyd. And he said, as the most culturally and racially diverse school in the Archdiocese and perhaps the state of New Jersey, the Hudson Catholic community recognizes the importance of treating each person with the respect and dignity that God had intended for each person to receive. Although we are not perfect and recognize all our own weaknesses, we will continue to strive to feel the love of the Lord in each of our lives and respond towards each other with that same love. So, moving on to a completely different topic, we're going to talk about Denzel Suitt. If that name doesn't sound familiar, he's a former Jersey City police officer, and the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office charged him with stealing money during a traffic stop, and that was back in March 25th, 2018. So, specifically, he was accused of stealing $600 from Jermaine Pobbs during this traffic stop, and so he was indicted, and he was eventually convicted last year, that was in February, of third-degree official misconduct and theft of unlawful taking of $500 or less, which was a little unusual, right? Because he was accused of taking $600 during the traffic stop, but then the jury came back with a different number. So that's one reason, actually, that a lot of people, including the black law enforcement officers, blessed, that is, and other black activists asking for this case to be reopened and asking for this decision to be overturned. But don't want to get ahead of myself. I, just by chance, actually ran into Suitt last night, and we had a good conversation, I believe, on camera. He said, I've maintained my innocence throughout this entire ordeal. So do I feel as though justice was served? No, but I do respect the court's decision. I really want to thank the judge for being fair. I feel like he really took into consideration a lot of factors, especially my history. And I really want to thank him for being courageous and standing up, doing what he felt as though was right. So we're going to take you right to that interview. But just before we do, just want to just briefly mention that the sentencing that he received at Hudson County Superior Court was 5 years probation, 200 hours community service, and $500 restitution, basically returning that money to Palms. So we're going to go to the interview and then hear a word from our sponsors.
I've maintained my innocence throughout this entire ordeal. So do I feel as though justice was served? No, but I do respect the court's decision. I really want to thank the judge for being fair. I feel like, he really took into consideration a lot of the factors, especially my history. And I really want to thank him for being courageous and standing up and doing what he felt as though was right.
Is this a decision you think you're going to appeal?
I do plan on appealing the verdict. I feel as though that it would only be right for me to do that, being that I've maintained my innocence the entire time. This isn't something where I was just seeking to avoid a prison sentence. It was, I want to basically be vindicated and have people understand that this is something that I've always maintained my innocence for, and I'm going to continue to do that.
And finally, Denzel, do you just have any theories, any thoughts on where this case came from and how you ended up in this predicament in the first place?
I honestly have no idea what happened. People have their own reasons for doing things. The prosecutor's office, they may have their own reasons. They may be actually looking to do something right here, but I think that this is definitely the wrong situation. But, I have no idea actually where it came from at all.
Pinto Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces that address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintoproperties.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View live at Uncut, John R. Hides. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a bit of breaking news out of the Mile Square City. So let's talk about what's going on with Hoboken acquiring Union Dry Dock. Many years in the making, right? So let's take a look at what Governor Phil Murphy had to say. New Jersey is committed to protecting and preserving our shorelines and waterfront areas. This agreement is a major step forward in our collective efforts to connect Hudson County's waterfront and provide more open public space for all New Jersey residents to utilize. We've been reporting on this since at least 2017, maybe even before that. So again, this is something that did not come, in a hop, skip, and a jump. I mean, this took a lot of work. We saw this going to court. We saw at least 2 instances of eminent domain get approved by the city council. But now we're finally at the point where there's an MOU between the city and New York Waterway. And that will include acquisition costs of approximately $14.5 million from Hoboken's Open Space Trust Fund at no impact to the budget, as well as an additional $4 million, which the city will bond for. And obviously that brings us to $18.5 million. And, it's kind of funny. I was looking at some of the previous coverage. You guys probably recall, you really close political observers, which I think is most of you, that back in November 2018 at a press conference, Mayor Ravi Bala said it would be over my dead body that New York Waterway would turn this waterfront property into some part of their facility at a refueling station. I know was one of the ideas floated. And as it turns out, he lived up to his word here. And, Hoboken looks like they're taking home a big W. So with that, we're obviously short on time. I just want to remind people that there's a blood drive going on as we speak through 5 p.m. at the Jersey City Education Association headquarters. That's 1600 John F. Kennedy Boulevard. And that's for Board of Education President Musab Ali. In his honor, of course, he's in a fight with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. So thoughts and prayers with him, obviously, as he continues to serve on that board. So if you could make it over there and you could safely give blood, I strongly recommend, urge really that you do so. And finally, we have a new Palisade Cliffs Protection Act, and this would form a 10-member preservation council to oversee development in the region. Just really quick, we heard that the Palisades Planning Region, so consists of that land within the municipalities, which extends up to 2,000 feet east of the Palisades Cliff Crest at each location along the Palisades Cliffs. With that, we're going to have to call it a week, ladies and gentlemen. We always appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you next time.